In May 2011, two high school friends and self-identifying film buffs saw the movie Thor together in theaters. These men promptly went their separate ways and mysteriously didn't communicate for a decade. Today, still obsessed with movies, they reunite as podcasters of fortune with the mission to tackle the movies and debates they missed out on for 10 years. On this podcast, they are always catching up. Aaron, they say good things come in threes.
Is that the truth?
We'll find out. Welcome to episode 3 of Catching Up with Aaron and Daniel.
Can you believe it? We've done 3 of these now.
Yeah, but you're going to get twice the content in this episode.
Yes, it's a double feature today. We'll be which one would you like to discuss first?
Well, we'll be going back to June 2011 for today's episode. We don't have to do it necessarily in chronological order. We could start out bad and get into the better film.
So we're starting with Super 8 and then going to Green Lantern.
No, other way around.
Oh, okay.
But yes, we're talking about Super 8 directed by JJ Abrams and Green Lantern directed by Martin Campbell and starring Ryan Reynolds.
You absolutely blew my mind on the last podcast when you told me the other films that, because I didn't know that Martin Campbell directed this. So when you were like, oh yeah, directed GoldenEye and also Casino Royale, which is my favorite James Bond film, and then this, just craziness, absolute craziness.
So before we get into all that, let's do a little bit of personal catching up.
Okay.
So I think we haven't done a really good job on the first 2 episodes of maybe sharing what our personal tastes are to give people a barometer. I
think that they're gonna get that through listening to this podcast.
Maybe.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think that that I have a pretty decent taste in films, and just when it comes to it, I do like B movies and things like that, but when it comes to big budget things, like the Michael Bay Transformers films, those I don't necessarily like, and I feel like films like that tend to go towards the lowest common denominator.
Okay.
While I enjoy films, Bruce Campbell films, or horror films in that vein, I'm a big fan of, where you know what you're getting into and it's not trying to be more than it's supposed to be. So, and then I also just really like classic films as well. I'm a big fan of, I talked about it on the last one with the Rocky film. That's Rocky is my favorite of that franchise. I know a lot of other people, it's Rocky 4, just because of the soundtrack. But I'm just a big, is that cinephile? Is that?
Yeah, that's the term. Cinephile, movie buff, movie geek, whatever.
I mean...
So, if you were to get, your Mount Rushmore of movies that you think best describe, not your 4 favorite movies, but your 4 movies that, this is Aaron Corhurst. However you pronounce your last name.
It's Cohurst, by the way.
What are the 4 movies that make up your DNA?
Oh man, that's a tough question. Since I probably just have to go with my top 4, to be honest. And it's The Crow is my favorite movie of all time. We talked about it. Terminator 2, grew up on that. The Princess Bride.
Okay.
I absolutely love The Princess Bride. And then Rocky is number 4. I'd probably throw, I know you said Mount Rushmore, but I go back and forth with what 5 is for me, and it's Good Will Hunting, The Town. I guess it's just a Ben Affleck thing. I watch The Town so much.
That's one of those movies I really liked it when I watched it, but I just haven't gone back and seen it since it came out.
It was bad. I had a breakup at the end of 2019, so I was by myself, and it was on, I believe it was on Hulu, and I seriously watched it every day for about a week straight. And then one out of the 7 days, I watched the director's cut, and I was like, I'm never watching the director's cut again because I hated what the changes that they made in it. And then the other is The Departed. So
another good movie I've only really watched once. So.
It's great. And funny story about high school that came out when I was in high school. And it got spoiled for me that everybody died in that movie. I feel like, discussing a film that came out this long ago.
Yeah.
Sorry I didn't put spoilers on that. I'm doing the conversation that I had at the lunch table. But it was spoiled for me that everybody died in that movie. And then I was watching it in my parents' living room that summer. And when the elevator opens and Leo gets his head blown off, I was legitimately in shock. I had completely forgotten it. And then as I'm making myself a sandwich later on, I realized that somebody had told me that had happened earlier, and I was really glad that I forgot. But
okay.
Same question to you, sir.
Well, okay, so my favorite movie of all time is Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
So just like right off the bat.
Wampa, full Wampa, or no?
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
Anyway, Empire Strikes Back. Star Trek 09.
You're a big Abrams guy.
Pre Rise of Skywalker.
Okay, so I'm not necessarily going to ask. I should have answered it like this, and it makes me think of it. Not necessarily like what are your favorite films.
Yeah.
But what directors do you more identify with? Where it's like they're directing a film, I want to go see this.
Steven Spielberg.
Okay.
Up until a couple of years ago, Christopher Nolan.
What was the Nolan film that turned it off for you?
Tenet wasn't very good, for one.
So his last movie.
Yeah. So
it wasn't Dunkirk or.
I like Dunkirk.
Okay.
But Christopher Nolan, Steven Spielberg. Now like Aaron Sorkin.
Okay.
I like Aaron Sorkin as a screenwriter, but also I think he's got a good director in him. David Fincher.
Are we ever going to get the third season of Mindhunter?
I've never watched that, so I don't know. But
you should watch that one.
But like Social Network is one of my.
It's probably like my least favorite film from him.
Really? Okay.
He doesn't count Alien 3, so I don't count Alien 3. So.
But like really movies that I consider like part of my DNA, like Star Wars, Star Trek, Top Gun. Top Gun's in there. Which then branches off into like Days of Thunder and stuff like that.
You big this makes sense now. I mean, with you talking about that, a big Mission Impossible fan as well.
Yeah, I really like the third one.
Of course, you like the third one.
No, it's a good movie. It's a good action movie.
R.I.P.
First one's good. I've never seen the second one.
Really?
Never seen the second one.
No John Woo.
No.
Just think about.
I think the fourth one's overrated.
Just think about how crazy the world would be if Mission Impossible 2 didn't exist. Because Hugh Jackman would not be Wolverine.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because the guy who was originally cast as Wolverine had to go do that instead, right?
Yeah, went and did that instead.
Yeah. Which is weird because that movie came out in 2002 and the first X-Men came out in 2000.
Mission Impossible 3 or Mission Impossible 2 came out in
2002.
2000. Mission Impossible 2 came out in 2000.
2000?
2000.
Huh. Okay.
See, this is what happens when we go into the way, way back time machine.
Yeah.
If we go past 2011, it's just complete mush and we don't remember anything. So.
But yeah, I haven't seen the second one. Love the third one.
Have you seen every subsequent one? Is 2 the only one you haven't seen?
Yeah, 2's the only one I haven't seen. Fourth one is overrated. Really liked 5.
I think I see like every other one.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen the Henry Cavill mustache one yet. So
Well, that's the most recent.
Okay.
But I liked Rogue Nation, which
I think I saw Rogue Nation.
introduced Rebecca Hall. Is that her name? She's in Dune.
Dune, yes.
So yeah, her, I love her. Loved her.
I'm horrible because I cannot pronounce this. Is it Villeneuve? Denis Villeneuve, the director of Dune. He's one for me. I absolutely loved Arrival. I loved Blade Runner 2049. I just watched Dune. Daniel has yet to watch it, so
probably won't be watching.
Why?
I've seen the trailers. It just doesn't do anything.
Interesting.
It just doesn't do anything.
And then this is legitimately very interesting to me because you saying that you identify yourself with two sci-fi franchises, but you have
not all sci-fi's created equal in my eyes.
This is true, but all you have to do is watch the prequels. But with that, this is a big science fiction film, and it's just I do find that interesting that you have no desire to watch that movie.
It's got a great cast, but
you said the trailer doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't push my buttons. It doesn't get the engine going.
Well, it's no Days of Thunder, guys.
I'd watch that every day. But anyway,
we have a podcast to do.
Yes,
He's got to watch other movies for this.
Yeah.
So are we hopping into the time machine?
Let's get close the doors.
All right.
DeLorean. All right, Aaron. We're getting out the time machine. It's June 2011.
Oh man.
What's in the news? Anthony Weiner and John Edwards are in the news.
For what?
Things.
What happened in June 2011?
Oh, just sex scandals involving Anthony Weiner, former presidential candidate John Edwards. That kind of stuff. We're not going to get into the details, but
okay.
it was going on in mid-June. In 2011.
2011, okay.
With June 9th, Super 8 came out, and a week later, Green Lantern came out.
All right.
In entertainment news, Damon Lindelof was announced as writing an original sci-fi film for Disney, which would eventually come out in 2015 with Tomorrowland. So
I never saw that.
You didn't?
No.
I was disappointed by it. Also, in this time, Looper was announced as coming out in September 2012.
I have seen Looper. Looper is a very good film.
Yes, it is. But anyway, that's what was going on in June 2011. So let's start this off with Green Lantern.
Green Lantern. Okay.
Aaron. So we talked last week on the last show about how at one point I talked about Behind Enemy Lines and how it felt like a really weird movie coming out when it did. Mm-hmm. That's Green Lantern.
Because it's coming out after some Marvel films?
Yeah, it comes out. There's been 3 Marvel movie comes out, and just watching it felt like a mid-2000s Marvel movie.
What's funny about you saying that is that's how I described Venom the first time that I saw it, to where if we were gauging this on a spectrum that didn't have the MCU films before it, it would have been something that was completely acceptable. So at the time, again, I'm a big comic book geek. Daniel is not. Green Lantern during that time period was one of the hottest comic books.
It was the Jeff Johns.
The Jeff Johns run. It was one of the hottest books on the shelves, and I remember to help promote this film, they reissued a comic book arc that he did that was Secret Origins, which was actually how I started reading the book, which is kind of him retconning the Green Lantern mythos, and it had Ryan Reynolds on the cover.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm. But this was also one of those films that in 2011, there were 3 films that I went to go see at the movie theater, and I went in knowing that all 3 of them were going to be bad. I went to go see Green Lantern, The Green Hornet, and Conan the Barbarian.
Okay.
Green Lantern, because I went in with so low expectations, was actually better than I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
The Green Hornet was exactly as bad as I thought it was going to be. And then Conan was actually worse than I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
And we're going to get into that later because I'm going to make him watch this movie. But Green Lantern, I mean, it in no way is a good film. Like a good comic book movie or one that you want to rewatch or anything. But I feel like it gets a really bad rap. The things that are in it that don't work really don't work. The costumes, the seat, just I would have really liked to have seen what would have happened if they would have put him in like an actual suit.
Yeah. Well, I get why they went with what they did, because it's a suit made of energy.
Yes.
So I get it, but it there was no weight to it.
It works fine when he's on Oa. When he's on Earth, it doesn't look good at all. Also, talking about it being like a film before like the MCU.
It feels like it was filmed in 2005 and put on a shelf and released in 2011.
If it was filmed in 2005, Nathan Fillion would have been Hal Jordan and everything would have been right in the world. That's the other thing, is just like Ryan Reynolds does not feel like Hal Jordan to me. It's just not how I ever read him or envisioned him. And Ryan Reynolds, for the most part, every film that I watch with him, it's Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
It didn't work for me. What did work for me was Mark Strong as Sinestro.
Yes, that's like the thing that's aged well about this movie.
I remember when all of these comic book movies started to become a thing, I was in a group chat with some of my friends and we were doing fantasy castings for comic book films. And I put Mark Strong down as Sinestro after only seeing him in Stardust. And then he got cast as Sinestro, and it was great. The post-credits scene in this movie is fantastic. It makes no sense whatsoever after what happened, but I mean, it's, sequel bait for the Sinestro Corps War, which was a huge arc in the comic books. But what I was saying with it feeling like a movie from a previous time, Fantastic Four, the villain was Galactus, which was a giant cloud.
Yeah,
and that's
wow,
what.
I didn't even talk about that.
And that's what Parallax was in this.
Yes.
Which drives me insane because Parallax.
Hey! It's a giant cloud with a face.
This is true, but Parallax in the comics is not a Guardian that went in and got consumed with fear. Parallax is this entity that, again, is fear-driven, but is much more like a dragon every time that you see him. Mm. And I don't understand why they went the route they did with that design. I also hate the design of Kilowog in this film. Kilowog much looks more like a pig in the comics. The casting is great. Michael Clarke Duncan is Kilowog. Jeffrey Rush is in this movie too.
He is?
He's Toma Ray.
Which one's that?
The one who looks like the fish.
Oh, okay.
That's Jeffrey Rush. Tim Robbins is in this film. Like, the cast is crazy. And I think that they were trying to, maybe catch up.
And who plays Amanda Waller?
Oh my God. Angela Bassett?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
That's the other...
I forgot that character was in this.
Yes.
But
she's not... She's Amanda Waller in name only. She's like Dr. Waller, as opposed to being, what we see her later on in the Suicide Squad films. But... Man, just when he's on Oa and training, I absolutely love it. And then pretty much everything else in this, I'm not a fan of.
It's where this movie comes out in 2011. At this point, the DC canon is Batman Begins, Dark Knight, this. I think you got Watchmen and 300, but that's
300's not DC.
It's not?
No.
Watchmen is, though, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Watchmen had also come out in the previous couple of years. So that's really it.
It was a weird time for comic. It still is with, properties that come out. But I don't... Again, this is a two-part thing, so we're not going to be staying on this long, I don't feel like. Ultimately, I don't think it's as bad as people have made it out to be. but I don't. It's not good by any means.
No, it's not.
Also, like Hector Hammond, the secondary villain in this, is another Green Lantern villain, and I know we discussed this earlier with comic book movies. They just off villains real quick, and
he doesn't do anything.
No, not really. But I feel like he could have been a very interesting villain by himself had they gone that route. I feel like they were just had too many irons in the fire and were trying to do too many things.
Like Hector Hammond, he's basically what. Correct me if I'm wrong. If the MCU had decided to use the leader who was introduced at the end of Incredible Hulk, that's basically what Hector Hammond.
A little bit,
would be.
A little bit. Just the big brained guy.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I don't. Again, at this time, my Green Lantern knowledge, he wasn't a huge player at the time. They were gearing up for the Lantern War, and they were introducing all the different spectrums, and it was all leading to Blackest Night as well. But I don't have a whole lot of knowledge of Hector Hammond. I just know that like he doesn't get offed so quickly.
I forgot Tamora Morrison was in this movie.
Yes,
as Abin Sur. Like I recognize his voice. Like, wait a minute, is that Jango Fett?
Speaking of recognizing voices, how about Clancy Brown as Parallax?
Did that?
Yeah. See, there you go.
Former Lex Luthor.
Yes, the Kurgan, Mr. Krabs.
So, Taika Waititi, future director of Thor 3, was in this movie as Hal's best friend?
Yes. I guess this was this had to have been the first time I ever saw him, which is very strange, because the next thing I saw him in was What We Do in the Shadows. But again, and I mean, what's funny was when they were getting ready to hype up Free Guy, they were just like, oh man, I'm excited to work with you for the first time. And just totally, I think it's great. This has become like a running gag now.
Yeah.
That of how bad this film is. There's the joke in Deadpool, the end in Deadpool where he kills himself while reading the Green Lantern script. I don't know where they were going with this. Like, it's one of those things where I'm sure there was an ungodly amount of studio interference, and this is probably just the beginning of DC feeling like they were behind the 8 ball when it came to Marvel, and were trying to have to play catch up. Because I mean, they obviously put a lot of money into this, and
Did they? Because this movie feels so cheap
because of the CG. I mean, the majority of the movie
there's only like 2 set pieces, really. Not counting the dogfight at the beginning, which feels like a cutscene from a PS2 video game.
Here's the other thing, too, is just like DC films, for the most part, still don't look that great. I mean, go and watch Wonder Woman. Go watch the last fight scene in Wonder Woman. Go watch the first Justice League. Actually, don't do that, because it's really bad.
Don't do that.
But no, like, just movies, some movies that are... This is a perfect example of... what I don't like about CGI and things not having weight, but they stacked this with a lot of talented actors, and I mean, they thought they were going to get something out of it, and they didn't, and it became this joke. But to me, it's not as bad as it's gone down in history as. But it's not anything I necessarily want to watch again.
It is amazing, like how many comic book related pots Ryan Reynolds has had his hands in over the last like 12 years.
Yeah.
Green Lantern, X-Men Origins Wolverine, Deadpool,
Blade,
R.I.P.D. Is it R.I.P.D.?
R.I.P.D.
I
mean, he did Origins because he wanted to play Deadpool.
Yeah.
And they said that they would just do it without him if he didn't take the role. So, and then we're going to talk about it when we eventually get to Deadpool, but it's hilarious to me that became a thing because of leaked test footage.
Brian.
Yeah. I mean, you were talking about movies that don't have a lot of set pieces. Deadpool's one of them. So.
Yeah. Okay. Can we talk about the really just awkward flashbacks to Hal Jordan's dad's death?
I mean, okay, so here's the thing with that. I almost texted you while I was watching this movie. There is an ungodly amount of exposition in this film. And it's really funny because a lot of it comes after Ryan Reynolds says that he knows everything. Like, the ring gives him this ability to know everything. And then Jeffrey Rush's character then proceeds to just lay on more exposition for him. Even though he's supposed to know everything because of the suit.
Like, I was going to say, like, especially the start of this movie feels a lot like Thor. And like, there's a voiceover narration explaining stuff. And then you see Oa, and it feels very much like wherever Thor lives in Thor.
Asgard?
It feels very much like that. They got similar vibes.
Okay.
In that way.
Where's Chewbacca from?
Kashyyyk.
Okay.
I had a brain fart. Leave me alone.
It's all right.
I had a brain fart. Anyway, but yeah, it feels very Thor-esque, just as far as how the movie's introduced in the fantastical worlds. Oa and Asgard feel framed similar. So.
Yeah. And man, I'm thinking about it is just how much of this movie isn't real.
Yeah.
There are just complete scenes where it's nothing but CGI characters. Like the very beginning of this movie, when the 3 aliens fall and like wake up Parallax.
Yeah.
So strange. 2011, weird times.
I remember watching this in the theater and just seeing the giant cloud of doom coming down to Earth with a face and just laughing out loud in the theater at just how just ridiculous it looked.
I don't understand why they didn't make it how it is in the comic book, and that they just went with the cloud with a face. This movie's got a ton of callbacks. I mean, I didn't realize it the first time I watched it, but when he goes to his nephew's birthday party and has the Hot Wheels track.
That scene was only there for that.
For the Hot Wheels track.
That was only there for that. I feel like that was a secondary shoot.
Well, even that had a callback to him talking about his dad and busting out his father's line that he said to him before he blew up. Then there was the loop, and then as Kilowog is training him, he does the same thing with the son, as he's calling him a poozer. What cracks me up more than anything is as Hal Jordan, Ryan Reynolds, is getting ready to destroy Parallax into the sun, we later find out that there are a bunch of Green Lanterns just sitting there watching, just like, hey, what's going on? Because Sinestro, Toma Ray, and Kilowog all show up just magically after Parallax is in the sun. Just like that. That cracked me up. It's just like, you couldn't help me out? Couldn't help me out with any of this? Let's see how it is. But that goes, okay. And so, with this, and the end of this movie, Sinestro sees that Hal Jordan, using willpower, has successfully defeated fear. And then he still goes and puts on the yellow ring at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Knowing full well that a Green Lantern who's less trained than him just took out Parallax. I don't like that. I did like the scene where Mark Strong was talking to the Guardians and was beginning to doubt them and seeing that they were keeping secrets. I wish that they would have gone more into that, but that just goes into it being not that kind of movie. The
Guardians, they looked like they were from a movie from the late 90s.
They look better than that. I wish that they were puppets. I really wish that they were puppets. Is that it for Green Lantern?
I'm trying to. Oh, my favorite scene in this movie, was when Hal flies up to Carol's office,
and she immediately knows who he is.
Yes, I absolutely loved that.
I like how she's completely smitten and then immediately like switches on a dime. My girlfriend was watching this, or like was in and out as I was watching this, and she asked me if this is where they met.
Really?
Is it? Do you know? They're married now.
Oh! I thought you were talking about.
No. Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. Is this where they met?
I think so.
Okay. So something good came out of the movie.
Yeah, I guess, but no, like that scene felt like a reversal of like Superman, like 78, like in Clark Superman flying up to Lois's apartment and just.
How would I not know it's you? Type of.
I've seen you naked. What makes you think I wouldn't recognize you just because I couldn't see your cheekbones?
Yeah.
That was like the most enjoyable scene of the entire movie.
The one that cracked me up was as Sinestro's training Hal Jordan, more just like beating the hell out of him. Hal Jordan begins to shoot a machine gun at him, and Sinestro puts up a shield.
It's Captain America shield.
The Captain America shield.
Yeah.
Does the toss as well, and so I thought that was very interesting.
What would come out a month later?
Yeah,
Captain America.
So, what do you rate this? What's the letter grade?
Oh man. C- if I'm being generous.
A C-. You're nicer than I am. I give this movie a D. D for diploma. So
I was gonna my next option was like D+.
All right.
Like that was it. But so like we talked about at the start, Martin Campbell of Casino Royale, GoldenEye fame, also Edge of Darkness, the Mel Gibson movie, which was okay.
Was this before his breakdown? Edge of Darkness? Was this before Mel Gibson's breakdown?
I don't know. But Collider had a post about Martin Campbell's thoughts on Green Lantern earlier this year.
Did he blame studio interference?
Well, he talked to here's what Collider says. Mark Campbell, we recently spoke to Campbell for his new film, The Protégé, and talked about the experience of making Green Lantern and why it was so difficult. Campbell explained that the studio purse strings unexpectedly tightened right before they were to go into production, so this was a cheap movie. Anyway, okay, here's what Mark Campbell said. The point about Green Lantern is that whereas with Bond, I love the Bond films. I really enjoyed them. It was an event for me. I'm not a comic book fan. And the truth is, I never should have done the film, but I did it because I had never done a comic book film before, so I think that the blame rests on my shoulders to a large extent. It was a big studio film, and the script was done up to par. We had Ryan Reynolds, terrific, and Blake Lively. So at least those two got together. We did create something. Problem was, I remember in the last 6 to 8 weeks of pre-production, every day, and I mean every day, we had meetings about cutting the budget. We need to cut the budget. How are we going to cut the budget? Every day. And I had worked out a terrific ending for that movie. I remember I had this quite big office down in New Orleans, the production offices. And I plastered the walls with storyboards. It was like wallpaper everywhere for the ending of the movie. They came in and said, we can't afford it, you have to cut it all. So in the end, they came up with that crap ending. However, having said that, I never should have done it, but I did it. I don't think I did a good job, so for me, superhero movies, there are better people than me who ought to be doing those movies. So, that's a refreshing amount of honesty in hindsight.
I mean, it's one of those things where a lot of people are just owning up to their failure. I feel if they were doing anything other than that, they'd just be lying to themselves and to everybody else. So...
Oh, remember when you said it's weird how those other three lanterns just show up?
Yep.
So, as for that original ending, Campbell said that it would have been the lanterns taking on a convo as opposed to what's in the finished film, which is basically Hal Jordan taking on Parallax by himself. Campbell said, to be honest, there was a battle in the streets between the four lanterns, between our heroes, Kilowog, Sinestro, and obviously Ryan Reynolds, and blah blah, taking on a huge kind of monster that was taking over the city. And it was really the Magnificent Seven in a way, or the Magnificent Four. However, it did not come to pass, so there we are. So...
People die in the Magnificent Seven.
When people died in Green Lantern.
Well, I mean, the heroes die in Magnificent Seven. It's one of the things that's nice about that film, is it's realistic in that way.
Mm.
We'll get into that here in a second, my thoughts on a movie that we're going to be watching, or that we watched as well on this double feature, and how I feel like maybe some people should have died, but but we'll get there. Is there anything else on Green Lantern?
It's not a good movie.
Are you looking forward to the Green Lantern show?
Well, if it actually happens, yeah, I'll give it a try.
Give it a shot.
I mean, it's not gonna have Diggle in it, as far as I know, so that's awkward.
It's not in that universe.
But they teased it at the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths, and then it's like
it's not in the Arrowverse.
So, oh well. Anyway, time for part 2 of this episode, where we talk about JJ Abrams' Super 8. And let's. All right, Aaron. So, as we've discussed already on the show multiple times, I like a good chunk of JJ Abrams' filmography.
Is there a JJ Abrams film not named Rise of Skywalker that you don't like?
I only like half of Force Awakens.
Okay. So it's just him doing Star Wars that you don't like.
Well, which is weird, because after, Star Trek 09 came out, I was like, he should do a Star Wars movie. And then he did a Star Wars movie, but he was just redoing Star Wars. And yeah, it didn't work out to mine. But anyway, that's not...
We'll get there eventually.
We'll get there. But no, Super 8. This is the only movie J.J. Abrams has done that wasn't part of a franchise or anything. This is purely J.J. Abrams. This is the closest you'll get to an independent film made by J.J. Abrams.
Okay.
Produced by Steven Spielberg.
Yes.
So
this felt like him trying to be Spielberg.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is obviously his attempt at a E.T. film.
It's his ode to a whole era of filmmaking.
This movie does absolutely nothing for me.
Wow.
I mean, so I'm. It's a good film. It looks fantastic. The actors are doing great. This is one of those movies where the kid actors don't annoy me or anything.
This
I feel like this is a great prelude to Stranger Things.
Oh no, yeah. I was going to bring this up. If you're going to pit two ensemble children casts against each other, it's Super 8 and Stranger Things.
But I saw this. I'd seen this movie one time before I did the rewatch, and it's there. It has nothing that's super memorable to me.
Wow.
Again, I watched this. I literally finished this the day that we're recording, and there's not a lot of it that just is sticking with me. This isn't a movie that's going to stick with me.
Why is that? What?
Just nothing really resonates with me in this. Again, we were discussing it's a prelude to Stranger Things.
Yeah.
And I feel like Stranger Things did what Super 8 is doing better than Super 8 did.
I disagree.
Okay. And that's why we have this.
I can't even give you plot points from Stranger Things.
See, and that's how I am with this. It's, hey, my mom died. It was this guy's fault. My dad hates him. They never really get into that, other than just being like, it was an accident. I forgive you. Now that our kids are in trouble. My dad's a drunk. I don't feel like they played necessarily into that enough. No one believes me. Here's what I find interesting about this movie is that it's a combination of two different things.
There's a version of this movie where the alien doesn't show up, where it's just a coming of age drama that takes place in a Midwestern town involving this conflict between a kid and his dad and this girl and her dad over the death of the mom, but nothing ever gets resolved because the dad's gonna send his son off to the military camp. But
it's a baseball camp.
It was a baseball camp?
Yeah, coaches. It's a baseball camp.
Oh. I thought it was a military camp.
No, it was a baseball camp.
Alright, there we go. Anyway, a camp, whatever. Anyway.
Why do I remember these things?
Like, I don't know. But anyway, like, but then the alien shows up, creates all this conflict and brings these characters together in a way that they wouldn't have otherwise, which I like about this movie. And then, like, the scene with Kyle Chandler, Joe's dad, and the guy who plays Elle Fanning's dad, like them sitting in that car looking for their kids and having this moment that would never have happened otherwise unless the alien train accident happens. So I like that. I like that. I like that element of it.
It's what blew my mind was just he's been holding on to this for so long, and then it was an accident. Like that's what you say in that situation. It seemed like we're gonna just skate over this. I understand in the situation you're looking for your kids, but that really like took me out of it. And then what does work for me though is them trying to film this movie.
Yeah.
I find that very, very fun, and the things that they're trying to do with that. I had to look and see when this movie took place, because
it's 78, isn't it?
78 or 79. I think it's 79. Because he's got a Halloween poster in his room and a Dawn of the Dead in his room. And then at the end of the movie, during the credits, when they're showing his film that he made, which is great, and that's honestly the most enjoyable part of the movie for me. It's just seeing all the horrendous cuts that are made in it. But the chemical factory where the zombies are coming from it's the Romero factory, which George A. Romero is the director of Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead. So I thought that was interesting. I understand everything that JJ Abrams was trying to do in this, and it's not just this movie to me just does nothing for me. It looks great. It is shot great. JJ Abrams is a fantastic director with what he puts on screen. Like, I don't mind lens flare.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you say that because everyone wants to bring that up. It's just an aesthetic choice. That's it. That's all it is.
And it worked. It worked but I understood what he was trying to do. But I mean, E.T.'s not one of my favorite Spielberg movies either. So I don't like E.T. I remember that. I'm not gonna enjoy Super 8. So, but no, it's fine. Just again, like I said, it does nothing for me, and unfortunately, it's not something that I can go into super detail and discuss because it's not something it's just there. So
going back to the children cast, these kids Joe Lamb's friends remind me of some of my friends. This feels like a very realistic, believable friend group of junior high students.
Have any of them done anything other than Fanning?
Joe, the kid who plays Joe Lamb, he's been in stuff. He's been in some Netflix stuff recently. Charles, the kid who's making his movie, he was only in one other thing ever after this, and it was the same year. He was in an R.L. Stine TV series episode.
Okay.
But which surprised me because he was really good. And he went and played football instead.
Okay.
Of acting. The Pyromaniac kid, he's been in some stuff. I remember him being in an episode of Community a couple of years or so after this, or around the same time. But really, it's really just been the main kid, Joe, and Elle Fanning, that's been in stuff after this, which is really incredible because the entire group was really good.
They did do well. I cannot remember his name, but the actor who plays Joe's dad,
Kyle Chandler.
yes, I feel like he's got a lock on playing the dad who doesn't quite understand his child. Because later on he's in the second and third of the Godzilla films that have come out recently, and he plays going back to Stranger Things, he plays Eleven's father in Godzilla King of Monsters.
Oh, I haven't seen Kings of Monsters, but I forgot he was in that. Like, this came out in the era like when Friday Night Lights was on, and people I know people love that show, and Kyle Chandler, he's my coach. I think it's Coach Taylor, maybe, or something like that. But I've been a Kyle Chandler fan since Early Edition.
Okay.
Let's see this. Do you remember Early Edition?
No. I think the first thing I ever really remember seeing him in was King Kong.
King Kong? He was in King Kong?
Yeah. He's the actor in King Kong.
Okay. I mean, I've never seen
which
Kong,
is now funny to me. You've never seen King Kong?
No, I haven't. I saw Skull Island, but I didn't see King Kong.
Okay. Well, what's interesting now is that he was in King Kong and then he was in Godzilla vs. Kong.
Okay.
So he's now been in 2 Kong films.
But no, Early Edition was a CBS drama back in the late 90s where he played Gary Hobson, a guy who got tomorrow's newspaper today, and it was about him trying to prevent the bad things that were going to be in the headlines in tomorrow's newspaper.
Did it not have the winning lottery numbers?
They actually there was at least a couple episodes where they kind of like addressed like him, why he doesn't take advantage of stuff like that. But no, that was a show that me and my family watched a lot that I really like.
I've never. So. Again, it's with what we're going to be talking about later on in this season with Person of Interest. I've never been a huge network television person. There's not a lot of TV shows. I mean, maybe Castle was the one that I watched with my folks, but there weren't a lot of ones where I watched them on a regular basis. So it makes sense that I didn't know about that one.
Okay, I'm surprised, but yeah, like that was like 97 to like 99.
90s TV was weird.
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. But no, I do like Kyle Chandler's never been like an action star, but like in this movie he gets like 2 minutes to be like an action movie.
Yeah, he gets to be the chief. He punches people in the face, you know.
He knocks out the soldier.
Yeah,
then he shoots the
Hopper does the same thing.
Yeah, he gets kind of a Hopper moment, I guess. I really wanted a scene in this movie where one of the other kids just stops Charles and goes, "Man, stop trying to make Mint a thing."
It was a thing back then.
Was it?
Yeah. It's like heavy.
I've never heard anyone reference "this is heavy" outside of its usage in Back to the Future.
It was a phrase that people were using back then.
I've never heard anyone say that.
All right.
Like it's like, oh yeah, we were saying that all the time.
No, it's not like Fetch and Mean Girls. You know, they're not trying to make that happen. Speaking of 90s TV and Super 8, it did crack me up that the son from Seventh Heaven was in this. Like him trying to sell like pot, and also like there was one, like he was a definite highlight of this movie to me.
Hey, I can get back to the disco.
that was great. Can you get this back in a day? Nobody can do a day. Talking about film, like that's hilarious to me. The bit where he sees that the kids are all alive after being in the school, and he's just like, I'm really stoned. that was funny.
We talked about good usages of the F word.
Yes.
In the last episode,
yes.
He pulls up the crash shot. He goes.
Yes, that was
what?
that was a great. But again, crash site. How did none of those kids die?
Oh, no. The thing, 10 years later, the one thing that just pisses me off about this movie is, like, how did the professor, teacher, scientist dude not immediately die when his truck and
he had that
train...
He had that plot armor. But, I mean... No, but... And then the car is okay. There's no damage to the car that they took. All the kids are okay. The only time that the kid gets hurt is when they go into the war zone later on.
Yeah.
Had there been, like, any injury whatsoever to any of the kids in the beginning, would have helped it out a little bit in my eyes. Another thing why I think this movie doesn't necessarily stick with me is nothing necessarily has weight, where only the army, the bad guys are the ones that get killed by this creature. You think that he's, killing people at the beginning of it, and then he's not really doing that. I think that might be one of the things where it goes into the horror element a little bit, and then it's just like, everything's okay, we're all good, guys. And to me, I think that might be something that's hindering it for me.
I think he ultimately kills the cop.
The sheriff?
The sheriff at the end.
And the one girl?
I think he just tosses the girl. He grabs her and just, like, throws her behind him. So you don't really know what happens to her, but I think he kills the sheriff. We don't find out what happened to the gas station attendant.
Kids having their own stereos, man. It's all downhill after that. Just listening to some Blondie, man. You need to pay attention.
I do think this movie's got a great soundtrack. Michael Giacchino's score is really good.
For me, I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit and just give it my letter grade. It's a C.
Wow.
It's just a very average film for me. It's nothing I'm ever gonna watch again. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't.
The first real disagreement on
Is this an A? Is this an A plus for you?
B plus.
B plus?
B plus. I don't know, like, maybe this might just be a generational thing where you, which is a positive of the show that you've been wanting to explore. Like, I like E.T. I think it's a really good movie.
I'm older than you. I grew up with E.T. It was not... For me, if I'm listing off, like, the Spielberg filmography, it's very near to the bottom. I understand why people enjoy it. It's just... I love Reese's Pieces. It's just not for me. I love the ride. I love the ride at Universal back when they had it.
I didn't know there was an E.T. ride.
There was an E.T. ride at Universal.
But I like just from this, like, the start of the movie, like, very effective storytelling with the no accident sense going however many days down to 0. That's really good. Then just going straight into the wake scene. I love that. Just the interactions between all everyone in this movie has good chemistry with each other.
Yes.
Like, I don't think there's a single bad casting choice in this. Like, Noah Emmerich, who's one of my favorite character actors, as the military leader, great. I think really the only weakness might be the scientist character, since he doesn't do much.
He's just there to move the plot forward.
Yeah. But he's got armor, the plot armor on. I like that. That was great. But I really don't. I think the ending of the movie's rushed. It goes straight from them rescuing Elle Fanning's character straight to time for the alien to leave. So that's.
It's just, I do understand why people like it. It's just not a thing. We were talking about wheelhouses at the beginning of this movie, and this is not in my wheelhouse. This isn't something. I didn't even see this movie at the movie theater. I saw this at, renting it at Hastings. So.
Pour one out for Hastings.
Yep. But I feel as if what this movie did later on, and I'm sure we're going to discuss it, I think Stranger Things pulled it off better.
There's a lot of good stuff with Stranger Things.
And I'm talking about Stranger Things season 1. I'm not talking about later on, and just as a one self-contained story. But the other thing with that is one's a 2-hour film and the other one's 8 hours of television.
Which you can do a lot. You can do a lot more with that. You can do a lot more. So, all right. I guess that's our review of Super 8, our first real disagreement on catching up with Aaron and Daniel.
Oddly enough, the scores that I gave were D and C. DC, Green Lantern. There we go.
Hey! Anyway.
Sorry for that. But I think it's time to head back in this time machine and go back to 2021.
All right. We're back in October 2021, and we have a lot to talk about.
Yes.
We have a lot to talk about. So, within the last week and a half or so, DC had their Fandom.
They did.
Event.
They should have just called it the Bat Dome.
Yeah, that was the headliner.
Was there anything out of this that you saw that wasn't related to Batman that you were excited about?
The Peacemaker show?
Peacekeeper, the television show?
With
John Cena? I didn't see that.
You didn't see the trailer for that?
I didn't know.
Okay, yeah, there's a trailer for it.
I couldn't see him.
Why not?
Because he's John Cena.
Oh.
Sorry, I am looking forward to that. I'm a big James Gunn fan.
But it really but the main event was the Batman trailer. So what were your general takeaway?
I don't need to see another trailer before that movie comes out. I don't want to see another trailer before that movie comes out. I very much enjoy Matt Reeves. He's a fantastic writer and director. I've really enjoyed the last 2 Planet of the Apes films that he did. I'm looking forward to just the cast of that movie. Looks ridiculous. And I really hope I can just go in blind now. I don't want to see anything or get any more plot points. I'm hoping that this one is the film where we get Batman being the world's greatest detective.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the things that they're leaning into. One of the things that I did think was pretty cool, though, with this trailer, it reminded me a lot of the Mandalorian, where he's just walking down the hallway and just everybody's like, blasting it with guns, and he's just still, walking down the hallway being Batman. Just immediately made me think of the Mandalorian with that. But I can't wait. I'm very much looking forward to this.
Where do you, this is one thing I've had talked with a couple of friends since it's on the spectrum of live action Batman projects / the animated series. Mm-hmm. Where do you think this will be in relation to I guess the Christopher Nolan, Ben Affleck, where is it? This is not quality. But I'm talking tone. Where do you think this sits on that?
This is going to be a very dark film. This is tonally, I feel this will be in the vein of the Nolan trilogy, maybe a little bit darker. I'm just excited to see what he brings to the character. And then while we were discussing the different Batman right there was another trailer that involved Batman.
Yeah.
Which I am stupid excited about. Not so much Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
But
I
Michael Keaton's my Batman.
I get that. I think I like 89 Batman. I like it. Didn't like Batman Returns.
That is a film that is not for everyone.
Yeah.
Well, it's also really that was one that I really enjoy, but I was listening to a podcast and they mentioned how much it looks like it was filmed on a soundstage, and now that's all I can think of and see when I watch Batman Returns. It's on a soundstage. All of the sets, everything. And then another thing that really bothered me was then I went and watched Sleepy Hollow, another Tim Burton film, and it feels the exact same way. So, but I mean, just hearing Michael Keaton do the voiceover, seeing the cowl from behind, the tease with the '89 Batmobile, just
like personally, like I thought they could have done a much better job on a teaser. Like as a
what
they've been filming that for a while.
What else do you need to see? What else do you need to see for a teaser?
I just
What else do you need to see for a teaser?
It just could have been better.
I'm not.
Like,
what do you need to see for a teaser?
That felt like a very low effort teaser.
What makes it? What did you want to see in the teaser? Oh wait, are you saying that you want to see more? oh hey guys, guess what? The Flash teaser trailer did its job.
But I'm excited despite my indifference to the Keaton era as a whole. I'm excited for that. I want to see Michael Keaton's Batman interacting with Ben Affleck's Batman. That's going to be a trip. That's going to be awesome.
I feel like Ben Affleck got a really raw deal.
Oh yeah, everyone did. Everyone that was cast in those Justice League movies got a raw deal.
Who's the actor who played Cyborg?
Especially him.
Yes.
Ray Fisher.
Yes, I did go back and I watched the Snyder cut. But seeing all the Cyborg stuff that was in that movie, it
was really good.
It was. And then it's just I still don't understand. Like the Snyder cut, oh man, it's because we're talking about DC. We got to talk about the Snyder cut with it. That's obviously not the original movie that was going to be coming out, because he gets to do this in the lens of, hindsight and what works. But it just blows my mind that they probably had a good 95% of that movie in the can already, and we're saying we're going to go this other route, and then what they ended up putting out.
Yeah. Like, Cyborg would have been the heart of the movie. Mm-hmm. Like, 100%.
And I understand them not wanting to do, a super long movie or anything. But, again, that just goes into DC, what we were talking about earlier with DC feeling like they were always behind the 8 ball with Marvel, where they didn't give us a Cyborg film to make us care about this character beforehand, and had to, shoehorn him into the team movie. That's why a lot of people don't like Age of Ultron. So
you have the opportunity to see one right now: the Batman or the Flash movie. Which one do you choose?
The Batman.
Really? Why?
Because I really like Matt Reeves.
Okay.
I like that cast a lot more, even liking Michael Keaton. I don't like Ezra Miller. He does nothing for me.
Okay. All right.
Him as Barry Allen is very annoying to me. So
I like his Barry Allen.
I'm going to see the Flash film because of Michael Keaton, not because of Ezra Miller.
Well, the one thing for the Flash, I hope it's not like just 20 minutes or something of the movie. I hope he's there for a good. It sounds
like he's describing stuff that's going on in the beginning of the film. So I don't necessarily know how long he's going to be there. Maybe this might just be the lead in. We get that him back as Bruce, and we can get our Batman Beyond movie.
Yes, that if there's ever a project that absolutely made 100% sense, it's.
Especially now. I mean, I remember back in the day we were discussing how great it would be if, Clint Eastwood played old Bruce Wayne.
What?
How great would that have been?
I don't. Ugh.
Yeah.
Who brought up Clint Eastwood?
I did. Old Clint Eastwood playing, obviously not now, but like when we were in high school.
Is this the conversation we had?
No, this was a conversation I had. We were just like, how do you make Batman Beyond into a movie these days? And it was just like, who would play Bruce? And I was like, Clint Eastwood.
No, anyway, but no, yeah, the Batman. Yeah, that comes out in March.
I don't know. I don't know when movies come out anymore. They keep pushing everything around.
So, but all right. So we talked about. Well, we very briefly talked about the Peacemaker, but I think like that the Peacemaker feels like it's sort of in the same vein as like The Boys, to a degree. But I think the Peacemaker is going to be, or Peacekeeper, whatever it's called. Peacekeeper. My apologies. I think it's gonna be more fun than
The Boys.
Yeah.
You don't think The Boys is fun?
It has its moments, but it could be a bit much.
That's kind of the point.
Exactly.
I'm curious if this is going to be one of those ones how the Suicide Squad felt, where it was James Gunn without the handcuffs, and I'm very curious how many episodes he wrote and directed of this series.
He has said how much, but I don't remember.
So it's James Gunn and John Cena on a streaming service that I have. I'll be watching it.
I do like the dynamic it teased where he thinks he's a big deal, but the general public has no idea like who he is.
That's why I worked for the Suicide Squad. I'm excited to see Vigilante in this. I thought that was a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about like D-list comic book heroes. It's going to be interesting.
So all right, so another DC related item that was announced yesterday. We're recording this on Tuesday, October 26th. So Brendan Fraser is going to be in the Batgirl movie.
Yes, as Firefly.
I don't know who. Wait, was Firefly in one of the Arkham games?
He was.
Okay.
He's already in a DC property for me, so I don't necessarily know how I feel about this. It's like if you want Brendan Fraser in DC, just watch Doom Patrol. It's on HBO Max and it's fantastic. So,
but I do like outside of the Arkham game, I know nothing about Firefly, but I just know that Brendan Fraser's in it, so I'm immediately interested at this point.
When did this all like start up again? The Brendan Fraser love.
The Brendan Fraser Renaissance?
Yes. Like when did he become a meme? Because I mean, I was watching Doom Patrol and it didn't really seem like anybody really cared. And then was it this year, a year and a half ago, was when it really started?
I think it started. No, he was cast in a TV show a few years ago on FX. There was like a different version. Do you remember the movie that Kevin Spacey had originally been in, and then he got replaced? That like
yes.
Well, there was the TV version of that same story.
Okay.
That Brendan Fraser was cast in.
Okay.
And I think that's when it kind of started. Then he gets Doom Patrol. He was recently in a show that aired internationally with Tom Welling of Smallville fame called the Professional.
And then he was filming a Scorsese film, correct? In Oklahoma?
I don't know.
Okay.
So on the last episode, we talked about the future Star Wars TV series.
We did,
including Obi-Wan Kenobi, which will feature
Hayden Christensen
as Anakin Skywalker.
And it turns out Disney wants to pay that man even more money. Write that man a check and give him the chance to play this character without George Lucas.
And we're going to get him a little bit more. At some point in the future, he's going to be Hayden Christensen is going to be Anakin Skywalker in the Ahsoka series.
Give me more Clone Wars flashbacks. That's all I want. I just want Clone Wars flashbacks. I'm never going to get a live-action Clone Wars show. We hardly got it in the movies. Just give me Clone Wars flashbacks. Young Ahsoka, let's do it. Make it happen.
It's either going to be like can be flashbacks.
I don't want Force Ghost. I don't want anything of that. I don't want voiceovers. Nope. Just straight up Clone Wars flashbacks. We already got a really bad Force Ghost in Return of the Jedi. Don't get me going on special editions. So, yep. Hayden Christensen's coming back. So, write that man a check.
I'm so glad he's getting like a second wind. So glad. After 15 years of unwarranted venom.
You know what?
Directed toward him.
You know what? If they really want to do something, they'll bring Jar Jar back in The Mandalorian. That's what they'll do. Let's get Darth Jar Jar going, alright? Let's make him the big bad.
Hayden Christensen and Ahsoka, that, like, if the only two projects that make sense to bring him back would be the Obi-Wan Kenobi show and the Ahsoka show. And so, in some capacity.
Yeah.
So, have you read the Thrawn trilogy? The original
Thrawn trilogy? Yes.
Okay. So, spoilers for The Bad Batch, Season 1.
I don't want spoilers.
You don't want spoilers?
I don't want spoilers. Do not give me any spoilers, and especially if they relate to Thrawn, do not give me any spoilers. So, I will watch it. I will watch it eventually. Thrawn's my boy, so I'm almost finished with the new Thrawn trilogy, and I've got the two newest books, the prequel books to that one as well. So, yeah, I don't want to know. I'll get there.
It's not directly related to Thrawn.
Well, I mean,
it's an element that was in the original Thrawn trilogy. That's it.
I don't want to know. Don't do this to me, man. So, speaking of Thrawn real quick, and with Mandalorian, since we mentioned that, the episode with Ahsoka, when Thrawn was mentioned,
yeah,
I legitimately jumped off of my couch, and it was the first time, like, my girlfriend's, like, seen me punch dance in a living room, because I was so stupid excited. Because I was definitely thinking it was going to be another character that she was asking about, and then it ends up being Thrawn, and I lost it for that. So,
I think you mentioned this.
Yeah.
On last episode.
But speaking of punch dancing out of excitement, how about punch dancing out of rage with some pushbacks with what Marvel's done?
Oh, yeah. Not Marvel, Disney.
Disney.
So.
Okay. Yes. So if you had your calendar planned out, much like I did for next year, it's definitely taken a hit. So what are the Disney films that have been pushed back?
Well, let's start with Sam Raimi's Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Instead of coming out on March 25th of 2022, it's coming out on May 6th, taking the spot of Thor: Love and Thunder, which has now been pushed back to July 8th, 2022. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever has now been moved to has been moved from November 11th, 2022 to February 17th, 2023. So also Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, that's a mouthful, has been moved to July 28th, 2023.
Have we gotten an I know Indiana Jones 5 got pushed back as well.
Yes, that has been moved back. Okay, Indiana Jones was moved from July of next year, July 29th, 2022, to June 30th, 2023. So
a year. So pushed back a year.
A year, which is disappointing because they're deep into filming that.
Yes.
So, that like of all these, that's the one that I'm most upset over.
Indiana Jones 5?
Yeah. Because I'm excited. So, but no, he's the same age as my grandma, my mom's mom. She just turned 80. So they were both born in 1941. So
okay.
Harrison Ford's 80. And so when this movie comes out...
Harrison Ford's 80 years old. He's still punching people in the face. Oh, man.
He I think he's probably in better physical conditions than most 80-year-olds.
Probably. But
for everything I've seen, the movie will include I'm guessing either a flashback sequence or a cold open that takes place during World War II. And so we're gonna get
So we're finally getting the World War II Indiana Jones movie that when they were describing it, as you can see, my dog is super excited about the fact that we're finally getting Indiana Jones in World War II. So Indiana Jones 4, that film, them discussing everything that he did during World War II, I was just like, I want to watch that movie. I don't care about any of this. Come on. Shia LaBeouf, gophers, surviving nuclear blasts in a fridge, monkey swinging, giant ants, aliens. It's like, no, just give me Indiana Jones in World War II. I want to see him punch Adolf Hitler in the face and then beat him to death with his signed copy of his father's journal. That's what I want to see.
Right. So what like, as we close out this episode, what have you been watching recently? Not related to this podcast.
So I saw Dune. He's not going to talk about it because he's probably never going to watch it. But I'm very excited that it got greenlit for part 2. I thought it was fantastic. I also went to go see Halloween Kills with my girlfriend, and how we discussed all the goodwill that X-Men First Class gave to the X-Men franchise. Mm-hmm. I feel as if the 2018 Halloween film did that for the Halloween franchise by scraping away everything. And then I went to go see Halloween Kills, and it was very much a letdown. And I see the third act because I'm 2/3 invested, much how I was with The Hobbit, but I went from being very excited after Halloween 2018 to being very meh and disappointed after watching Halloween Kills. So, but what about you? What have you been watching?
I saw No Time to Die.
Okay, I have not seen that yet.
So in the grand scheme of the Daniel Craig era, it's better than Spectre, better than
Spectre,
better than Quantum of Solace, but I still think Casino Royale is far and away the best one, and Skyfall's number 2. So it's right there.
Okay.
Right there in the middle. So hopefully you'll talk about it. You'll see it soon, so we can maybe get into it deeper.
My dad and I go to see all of the James Bond films at the movie theater together, and his birthday's coming up, so I plan on taking him to go see that. I'm very excited to see it. I didn't think anybody would ever take the place of Sean Connery as my favorite Bond, but Daniel Craig is definitely my favorite Bond. I enjoy Quantum of Solace more than a lot of other people. I thought it was very interesting, the fact that it was the first direct sequel to any Bond film. Yeah. So, and then if you go into it with the writer's strike that was happening at the time,
yeah,
it was fun. But yeah, Casino Royale is fantastic. It's my favorite Bond film. It's obviously my favorite Daniel Craig Bond movie. And then
it has my favorite, like, if not my favorite, one of my favorite, like, just ends to a movie where he shoots Mr. White. And you hear him walking up, and the music, the Bond theme's just building, and he goes, "The name's Bond. James Bond."
Yep.
End of movie. Like, that's just, like, James Bond is now fully formed.
And then Skyfall's just The Dark Knight with James Bond. So.
Also The Avengers.
Definitely more so Dark Knight than The Avengers. But I mean, you know, a lot of people say Casino Royale is James Bond doing a Bourne movie, so.
Yeah. I also watched Samuel L. Jackson's Shaft from 2000 for the first time.
With Christian Bale?
Yeah. I did not know Christian Bale was in it until I was watching it. I was completely shocked. I had never heard Christian Bale's name referenced in relation to that movie. Completely took me off guard. Also, Elizabeth Banks is a background character at one point. So
did you see the new movie Shaft?
Not
the
yet.
Same name?
Not yet.
Are you gonna watch the new movie Shaft?
Probably, yeah. Yeah. So, but I thought
you heard it here, folks. Daniel will watch Shaft, but Dune just doesn't do it for him.
But I thought Shaft was it was pretty good.
Have you ever seen the original Shaft?
No, I haven't.
Have you watched any of those, like, 70s blaxploitation films?
Does Black Dynamite count?
Yes, it does. Did you see My Name is Dolomite, the Netflix film?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. It was a very, very good film.
I watched Spy Game with
Robert Redford and Brad Pitt.
Yeah, I thought it was a really, really interesting spy movie. One that that involves largely flashbacks, but when it's in the present, is mostly kind of like a bottle episode to a degree. Robert Redford makes the movie.
He does that a lot.
Yeah. It's a weird movie because it comes out in 2001, but it takes place in 1991 and features flashbacks to like 1975 and like the early 80s. And so you're seeing like an old Robert Redford trying to play a younger version of himself in 1975, and then you have like movies from 1975 where you can see Robert Redford and what he really looked like in the 70s, and it's kind of hard to
they weren't de-aging people 20 years ago.
No, they weren't.
So
they weren't. But I've also been watching the recently canceled Why the Last Man on Hulu.
I was wanting to watch that, and then I'm one of those people that was looking forward to it for a very long time, but with the move and watching stuff for this, I just never found time, and then I heard it was canceled, and I hope it does find another platform. So
I'm old enough to remember like when Shia LaBeouf
was attached to it.
Attached to that back
2009.
2008. It fell apart in 2009.
Okay.
But like he was attached to it to star, and DJ Caruso, who directed Disturbia and Eagle Eye, was going to direct it. But yeah, it fell apart in 2009. So it's been a very long time. So, but no, I've enjoyed the show. Like I really have. It's very, very cinematic. Got a really good cast. So that will do it for this episode of Catching Up with Aaron and Daniel.
What is the fourth episode?
The fourth episode, we're going back to a single feature.
Single feature.
Single movie. This time it'll be Joe Johnston's Captain America.
The first Avenger.
The first Avenger.
Is he Yeah, he is. I was, for some reason, despite the fact that it took place in World War II, I sometimes was like, is Captain Marvel technically the first Avenger? I'm just like... I'm looking forward to talking about this one. So
yeah, me too. It's one of my favorite MCU movies. But you can email us, guys, if you're listening, at catchinguppod@gmail.com. Please let us know your thoughts on the movies we talked about in this episode or any previous movie, or Captain America: The First Avenger. Follow me on Twitter at Daniel McFadden. You can follow Aaron at
AB Cohurst on Twitter. If you'd like to follow the show on Twitter, follow at CatchingUp2011. We're fairly active on that. Would love it if you guys would, write us in. You can tell us what you think of the show or movies that we're discussing on there as well. We are on YouTube as well.
YouTube.com/Daniel McFadden. That's where it's at.
Yeah. So feel free to subscribe, like, and share our videos on that channel as well.
And your favorite podcasting platform.
Yes.
So,
also, if you could, write us a review. Let us know what you think. If we're doing an okay job, we're still getting used to this and trying to get better every single episode. We would love to hear from you guys.
So yeah, I'm Daniel McFadden.
I'm Aaron Cohurst.
And this has been Catching Up with Aaron and Daniel.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.